Welcome to the Global War Watch Network.
So get this, India's very first homegrown nuclear attack submarine might be getting a game-changing upgrade. Reports are swirling that Russia is offering up technology directly from its lethal Yasen-class subs. Now, if that's true, it could completely reshape the underwater balance of power. The Yasen-class boats are genuine apex predators. They're some of the quietest, deadliest submarines ever put to sea. The idea of that kind of tech powering India's fleet, well, that changes the entire strategic map of the Indo-Pacific.
If you want to stay on top of these massive shifts in global security, you know what to do. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We break down the stuff that really matters.
All right, to really get what's at stake here, this is how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the new underwater arms race that set this whole thing in motion. Then we'll dig into India's capability gap and how Russia has become the go-to solution. After that, we'll explore India's endgame, Project 77. And finally, we'll look at what this all means for the new great game being played out in the Indo-Pacific. So, what kicked all this off? What triggered this huge naval escalation? Well, it all started with a new security pact that sent some serious shockwaves through the region.
Back in September 2021, Australia, the UK, and the US announced the AUKUS Pact. The centerpiece? Getting nuclear-powered submarines for Australia. Now, Moscow's reaction was interesting. At first, they were cautious, kind of quiet, but that didn't last. In just a few weeks, their tone completely shifted. Russia's Security Council started calling AUKUS a prototype of an Asian NATO and accused it of being anti-China and anti-Russia. That kind of talk was a clear signal that a response was coming.
Russia's pushback created a perfect opening for India, a country that has its own pretty urgent reasons for wanting a powerful, modern submarine fleet. So what exactly is fueling this multi-billion-dollar ambition?
The answer really comes down to a core military idea, the nuclear triad. You see, India has a no-first-use policy, which basically means they promise never to be the first to launch nuclear weapons. But if someone hits them first, they absolutely have to be able to hit back. Land-based missiles, bombers, they can be vulnerable. But a nuclear-powered submarine carrying ballistic missiles, it can just disappear into the deep ocean. It is the ultimate insurance policy, the one part of the triad that guarantees you can strike back.
But here's the catch. There's a big gap between ambition and reality. India's goal is to have a blue water navy, one that can operate far from home and deter growing threats from China and Pakistan. The problem is their own submarine programs have been, well, slow. They've struggled with delays and are missing some of that really high-end technical expertise. And that's the critical gap they're racing to close.
And to bridge that gap, India has consistently turned to one partner it trusts above all others, Russia. And this isn't some new thing. We're talking about a strategic relationship that goes back decades.
Just look at the history here, because it says it all. Way back in 1988, in the middle of the Cold War, India leased a Soviet nuclear submarine, the first country to ever do that. Then they did it again in 2012 with a much more modern AUKUS-class boat. And in 2019, they signed a massive $3 billion deal for a third one. You see, this isn't just about buying and selling hardware. This is built on decades of deep strategic trust.
And this whole leasing strategy is incredibly smart. For one, it's a cost-effective way to get a nuclear hunter-killer sub in the water without the astronomical cost of building one yourself. But the really crucial part is that each leased sub is like a floating university. It allows the Indian Navy to get priceless, real-world experience. They're training the very crews that will one day operate their own homegrown fleet.
Which brings us to the main event, the ultimate goal of all this. The leasing program has always just been a bridge to get to the final destination, India's very own fleet of cutting-edge, domestically built nuclear attack submarines. That plan is called Project 77.
So let's pop the hood on these things. The price tag is over $14 billion for 6 submarines. At their heart is a powerful new 190-megawatt reactor and a modern nuclear electric propulsion system. Why does that matter? Because it's the key to being incredibly quiet. This isn't just an upgrade, it is a massive technological leap. The whole point is to create a true apex predator, armed with everything from torpedoes to land attack cruise missiles. And this is a truly national effort. The Navy's own design bureau is handling the blueprints. The nuclear heart of the sub is coming from the Baba Atomic Research Center. The huge hull sections are being built by a private giant, Larsen & Toubro, and then it all comes together for final assembly in Visakhapatnam. It's an entire national ecosystem geared towards one thing: self-reliance.
And here's where it all comes full circle. The Russian connection is so much deeper than just leasing. Analysts are pretty sure India's new reactor is based on the technology from those AUKUS-class subs they've been operating for years. But even bigger than that, reports suggest India's next generation of ballistic missile subs will be based on Russia's awesome Yasen-class design. So this isn't just about renting equipment, it's a fundamental transfer of design, philosophy, and bleeding-edge tech.
Okay, so let's zoom all the way out. What does this really mean on the world stage? Because this deepening India-Russia partnership isn't happening in a vacuum. It is actively reshaping the entire strategic chessboard of the Indo-Pacific.
And the language being used is getting pretty scary. In response to that AUKUS deal, Chinese state-run media flat out called Australia a potential target for a nuclear strike. I mean, that kind of rhetoric just shows you how dangerously high the stakes are getting.
So what are the big takeaways here? For Russia, it's a clear win-win. They get to counter what they call an Asian NATO, and they lock in India as a huge defense market. For India, it's like hitting the accelerator on their naval ambitions, giving them a serious edge against China. But the undeniable result for everyone else is a new, much hotter naval arms race in the Indo-Pacific, where you can see rival blocs forming and arming up.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty chilling question. As these incredibly sophisticated, incredibly deadly new nuclear fleets start to prowl the depths of the ocean, are we just watching the beginning of a new Cold War? A new, more dangerous Cold War, fought in the silent darkness underwater?
Thank you so much for joining us as we unpack this pivotal story. We really appreciate your time.
If you found this breakdown useful, please go ahead and hit that like button, share it with someone, and of course, subscribe to the Global War Watch Network. We really do want to hear from you, so leave your thoughts in the comments below. And you can join the conversation on our social media too. All the links are in the description.